Hello, everybody. I'm Ann Dallair, the Millbury Public Library Director, and joining me is Marie, our library assistant from the Millbury Public Library. And we are going to do a dual book talk on A Slow Fire Burning by Paula Hawkins. And it's a thriller. And before we get into a little bit about the book, I'd like to talk to all of you about a little background on the author. So she is a British author, and she began her career as a journalist. And the first book that she wrote was called The Money Goddess, which was about financial advice for women. And then she began to write romantic comedy fiction under the name of Amy Silver, including Confessions of a Reluctant Recenista. And her best known novel that we all might even know is called The Girl on the Train, which was published in 2015. And that was a complex thriller as well. And it took her 6 months to write this book. And unfortunately, she needed to borrow money from her dad to finish the completion of her book. Then her second book was called, that she published in 2017, Into the Water, and that became a Sunday Times and New York Times bestseller. And now her latest, that was just published in August 31st of 2021, was a Slow Fire Burning. And I really thought this for a long time. I thought maybe this might be the beginning of more dual book talks. And I thought maybe it'd be a great idea for the community to hear two different perspectives on a book that we have available that you could check out. And so again, the first book that we did together is A Slow Fire Burning by Paula Hawkins. And so how we're going to do this book talk is we have a series of questions that Marie and I are going to be just talking to one another. But it's going to give you a little bit of a perspective of the book without giving out the whole plot of the book, because we don't want to spoil the book, because we want to be very eager for you to come and check it out. There is currently, I think, maybe not too many holds that are on it, but our library particularly, I think, Marie, do we have like 2 or 3 copies of this anyway?
Oh, yes, at least.
Okay. So I think maybe I'd like to ask you a few questions, Marie, on the perspective of the book, if that's okay with you.
That's fine.
Okay. So I really was intrigued by a lot of the characters in the story, but I did point out that Laura, which is probably the main character in the story, and I just wanted you to share with the audience what role did Irene's character play in the novel, and how is she different from the other characters?
Is this Irene or Laura?
Laura, but I know Irene and Laura were pretty much, they were mentioned in the book frequently. So I thought maybe if you could give your opinion on the relationship of Laura and some of the other characters.
Yes, well, a lot of the characters had very contentious relationships with each other. There weren't a lot of positive relationships between Carla and Theo, who are a divorced couple. Laura and Irene, however, seem to have a very good bond. Irene would help Laura out. I should first say that Laura is a young woman. She has been let down by her parents in several ways. So she is basically on her own. And Irene steps in to fill some of the void left in Laura's life. Laura also does help out Irene, who is an elderly woman. So she gives her some help that way. And in turn, Irene befriends Laura, creating really one of the few positive relationships in the book.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you too, Marie, that it seemed like that Irene really was trying to connect with Laura in that sense, that she probably realized from all the stories that Laura shared with Irene, I think that even made their relationship stronger.
Yes, yes, I quite agree.
And I think Laura really needed somebody like that, considering, it was unfortunate that, she didn't have the most support from her family.
Exactly, yes.
Yeah. So another question that I'd like you to share with the audience is to know some of your thoughts about some of the other characters in the story.
Okay, well, it is a small group of characters that are, at the beginning, you don't realize the connection, but as the story goes on, you do realize that they all somehow connect. So there's Carla and Theo, who are a divorced couple, but who still remain very close in each other's lives. There is Irene, who we've just mentioned, and then her neighbor, Angela, is Carla's sister. So that brings that relationship around. And Miriam is a very unsympathetic character. She lives on a houseboat. She's a very nosy person, not well liked, but she is crucial to the story, as are all the characters.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you on that one too, Marie, because I think that this is a psychological thriller and it has a lot of twists and turns. Yeah. And I think that the audience needs to understand that many of these characters are all interrelated into the plot of the story.
Exactly.
And so I have one more question for you.
Sure.
What is your opinion on the challenges that some of the characters had been through?
All of the characters in some way have experienced trauma, severe trauma in most cases. So once you realize where they're all coming from, it helps to explain their behavior better. Carla and Theo suffered a loss, and that affected their marriage and affected their lives, actually. And then it also rippled out and affected her relationship with her sister. And then Laura had her own trauma, which led to her being estranged from her parents, which was very unfortunate.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing when you said it was unfortunate, because in the beginning of the story, before the incident with Laura, she was a bright child, and
yes,
to have something traumatic to happen to this main character, for her, you wonder, well, where does she fit in? And I'm glad that she was able to fit in with the character of Irene.
Yes, so. Me too. Yeah, I was rooting for her.
Oh, yes. So I didn't know if you wanted me to answer some questions to the audience. If you
Sure. So how important do you think the truth is in this book? And what are some of the ways that not telling the truth drives the story?
Well, I can attest that throughout this story that it seems that one lie leads to another lie, and another lie leads to another lie. And at some point, I think these characters forgot what they lied about in the beginning. So,
Yes.
We always want to tell, we always want to, I guess, enforce and encourage the community or just people in general. It's easier. Initially, it's not as easy as it is in the beginning to tell the truth. But in the end, it's better to tell the truth than continue with a lie.
Exactly.
So I think that in this story, I think there were too many secrets. And it's unfortunate that all the characters suffered because of all the secrets.
Yes.
And in the end, that throughout the book, there were tragic events that happened throughout the book, and it's unfortunate that happened. But
right. Yes. The book starts out with a murder. However, do you think that solving the murder is the most important part of the book, or is it the revelations about the characters that really drive the story?
Well, I think when I first started reading this book, the first few chapters, I really wanted to know who did the murder.
Yes.
But as I went along reading the story, you start learning the different dynamics of the characters and how they relate to the murdered person.
Exactly. Yes.
And it really made me think that knowing who the murderer is not shouldn't be the main point in the story.
I felt that way too. Yes.
Towards the end of the book, middle towards the end, I was sympathetic with a lot of the characters and how vulnerable and how much they've suffered.
Yes.
With all the losses that are involved in the story.
Yes. I quite agree. Now, did you have any other thoughts on the character of Irene?
Irene, she's such a sweet lady. She's a sweet lady character. And it seems that, I was really surprised that the character Irene didn't really discuss other close relationships that she would have, like extended family or children. It just, and I think that might have the closeness that Irene had to Laura. I think that filled her void of not having any children or not having anybody that could help her and support in that way. And I think even though it was helping Laura, it was actually helping Irene as well.
Yes. Yes.
So
yes.
I think that overall, I think this was a really great psychological thriller for anybody that's looking to read a new release on thriller. So again, I hope that all of you will reach out to us at 508-865-1181, or you can go to cwmars.org and order the book online. A Slow Fire Burning by Paula Hawkins. And if you'd like to check out other programs that we offer, you can go to our website at www.millburylibrary.org. And I appreciate all of your time and thank you for watching our book talk. And thank you, Marie, for joining this book talk. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Ann.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Bye.